Oh, Indy, did you know that 9.9 recurring of the fashion bats out of 10, that is Prada millenniensis, believe that bucket hats are the most pertinent type of head attire?
Is that so, Chris?
Certainly
Is that
is.
so? Well,
Certainly
did
is.
you know that 7 out of 10 bats were very intrigued to know that the greater naked horse bat of Borneo has an ectoparasite living in the folds of its skin? Never mind. While 10 out of 10 bats were amazed to hear that some birds can poo on their legs to keep them cool, and this is known as urodiversis.
Hello!
Hi!
And welcome back to 8 out of 10 bats here at the amazing Dundregan Rewilding Centre. Sadly, our last episode coming from here, isn't it? We're really sad to be leaving. However, don't worry, the show's not over. You can still catch us next week. We are moving to a brand new location down south, so you can still catch us at 7:30 on Monday of next week. But we've got one final episode here from Dundregan Rewilding Centre that we're very excited to bring to you.
Yeah, and it's going to be a good one. You and I are particularly excited about
Very
this one.
excited.
But before we quite literally dive into those topics, we have to address Chris's skull of the day. And today, he posted this as a quiz. And a few people on Twitter said this was harder, actually, than it previously had been. And there are a few clues here. You can tell it's a herbivore. It's got that diastema there. You can see it's got quite large eyes. But the thing I'm going to take your attention to is the auditory nerve hole here. This nerve would run through the skull and up into the ears, and the size of it indicates that this animal would have rather large ears. Those of you who got it right, well, let me tell you who they were. Sarah Humphreys, Scott Albee, and Abigail Bentley got this right. They were correct. It is a lagomorph. It is a brown hare. Oh, look at that one sleeping there.
Very nice.
It looks nice and cosy, doesn't it?
Okay,
Excuse me.
wait, that's rude.
Get out of here.
Rude.
He's obsessed. Absolutely obsessed.
I don't know how you put up with it.
You know what? I don't know either, to be totally honest.
Well, we've still got it at least. So that's
We've still got it. We've still got it. Now, we have got some really exciting things coming up in today's episode. And to set the scene a little bit, Christina is, of course, a fantastic marine biologist, got so much knowledge about under the sea. I've got 1 foot on the land, 1 foot in the water. I work with sharks a little bit, so I know bits. I mean, I've dressed for the occasion. Shark hat,
look at it.
cetacean top.
You've done better than me. I'm just in normal clothes.
Well, I thought I had to dress up for the special occasion. So we are Team Marine, whereas Indy and Chris, I think, are Team Aerial. Are you not, Indy? Come on in.
I think so. I think aerial's the way to go, in my personal opinion, but happily to be persuaded if you've got some good stuff for us.
I mean, some marine species can also be aerial.
That's true. That's
there you
true.
go.
That's true.
Yeah, basking shark jump.
Yeah, we saw that yesterday.
It's a great example, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And to be fair, like to really launch into the marine side of things, I have the most incredible video to show you that's been sent. And again, we've been loving everything that you've been sending in so far. But look at this! Look at this! How weird!
That's nuts. This is something out of like a Steven Spielberg. It's like Alien. Look at that.
Amazing, wow. Isn't it? So let me tell you what's going on here. So this was sent in to us by Scott Reed, who's a conservation scientist with the Isle of Scilly Bird Group. What is going on here is we have a little amphipod, a little crustacean at the top there. So that's that little thing you can see sort of stroking its hands fairly menacingly. Now the thing it's living in is called a salp. So it's a gelatinous sort of bit of plankton. It belongs to the tunicates, the sea squirts. So what this does, it digs into the salp, it latches onto it, it digs onto the inside of it, it eats its innards, all right? And then it anchors itself on the inside and it lives in the remaining salp. So it uses that protective body to protect itself. And its nickname, which is so appropriate, is Monster in a Barrel.
Wow.
Miniature monster.
It's absolutely incredible. I mean, thank you so much to Scott for sending this in. We couldn't believe it when we saw it, could we?
All right, we're starting off well with our marine theme, but I think, you know, we might have the edge on that one. Indy, what are you bringing to the table from the aerial skies?
Aerial sky. Okay, here we go. So, of course, it's autumn, and that means that autumn bird migration is in absolute full swing. We've been seeing it a lot here this week at Dundragon, we've seen big flocks of redwings and fieldfares and even bramblings around the visitor centre, all winter migrants coming over from Scandinavia to Britain and Europe to spend a slightly warmer winter. But of course, it's not just birds arriving, it's also birds leaving to go down south to warmer climates, down, you know, Africa and southern Europe. And one of those birds is the ring ouzel. And we were sent this awesome video by Sussex Sarah of a male, gorgeous ring ouzel, also known as mountain blackbirds. They nest up in the peaks. And yeah, you can just see it having, I imagine, what is quite a full stomach of hawthorn berries there.
It looks a little sleepy, doesn't it?
It does. Quite an attractive bird, though.
They're
Charismatic.
really nice. It's like, do I really have to migrate all this way? I'm quite happy just sat in this bush. But it was really interesting. So Sarah also told us that in spring, when she sees the ring ouzels arriving, they tend to feed on insects and grubs that they find in the hills and the valleys. But in autumn, they always tend to feed on berries, like we saw the ring ouzel just doing there. So it's very important that obviously we have both those seasons timing well for when all the birds arrive after their long migration to go, I need food. And then, if we have a weird spring, affected by climate change, then sometimes that can have knock-on effects for these birds. But Sarah did also say that it looks like it's been a very good year for ring ouzels on her patch. That's brilliant. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you,
That's
Sarah.
really good, isn't it? That's great. Great news there. And obviously we need to keep an eye on all these patterns and how they're impacting our species quite closely. But before we get on to other subjects, of course, it's 8 out of 10 bats. And where would we be without the wonderful Susie Dent with her word of the day?
Today's 8 out of 10 bats question is, what is a smooze? And would you recognise one if you saw it?
Smooze. Fun word, that. Smooze.
It is a fun word. I quite like saying it.
Yeah, it's good. What do you think?
I'm so rubbish at these. I'm not too sure. It does sound like something to do with cozying up. We had nidificating before, building nests. So maybe it's another sort of cozy making sort of word.
Yeah,
It
kind of long-tailed tits that huddle together.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a shout.
That is a good shout.
But
That's a very good
I've got
shout.
absolutely no clue. And loads of you watching have been getting this every single time, which I'm personally quite impressed by, because I've got absolutely none of them, and I'm not ashamed to say it.
Absolutely. So make sure you get those answers in soon. We are now going to go to our amazing wildlife camera operator, James Stevens. Now, we met James in our second episode. He was, of course, out in the wildlife hide here at Dundragon. He's now somewhere slightly less glamorous, but he is on a lookout for nocturnal wildlife. How are you getting on, James?
Thank you very much, Christina. Now, I'm hidden here in my truck tonight because I'm hiding from an animal that's just over there. And I've got my own setup. I've got wires creeping out of the car and into a couple of different cameras. Now, before I tell you what I'm after, I thought I'd turn it into a bit of a quiz. And the quiz will win you this, a lucrative mug, the 8 out of 10 bats mug. So I'll give you a couple of clues, and it's the first person to get the answer right will win this mug. Okay, so clue number 1. What bird produced this pellet? Now, it's dark, it's shiny, it's glossy. That's quite a distinct feature for this bird. So that's clue number 1. Now, I'm going to give you another clue, and this is going to make it very, very easy. I'm going to show you where this bird chooses to roost. Now, it's in here. You can see here it's got loads of poo, loads of pellets, and it is in a barn. So, of course, we're talking about a barn owl. Now, these are incredibly beautiful, majestic animals that you can see gliding over the meadows, looking for small mammals, and they fly almost entirely silently. And they do so because they've got very well adapted feathers to fly in almost perfect silence. But the feathers aren't very waterproof. So on nights like this, where it's a bit drizzly, I'm hoping they're going to come in here to roost. And if it does come, we'll be sure to cut back in and show you later on. But in the meantime, let's talk a bit more about the ecology here at Dundragon. So on Tuesday, we talked about the jays, the acorns and the boar. Well, tonight, let's talk about the uplands. Now, we've been incredibly lucky with the weather. It's been lovely and sunny. It's been very cold, though. We've had a few cold snaps and lots of snow on those uplands. And because of all of these thermals, we thought maybe we might see some golden eagles. Now, the golden eagles are an incredibly good success story here at Dundragon, because after 40 years of absence, in 2020 they successfully bred, which is a testament to all of the really hard work that everyone's been doing here in Dundragon. Now, sadly, we didn't see any golden eagles, but we did see another incredible bird, and that was the black grouse. Now, these are also very beautiful animals. These are the males. They're black and they're glossy, almost iridescent. They've got this gorgeous red wattle above the eye. And this is another success story because since this rewilding effort has taken place, they've seen an increase in the number of black grouse because they like to roost in the sort of the edges of woodlands and then come out into the open areas to carry out their lekking behaviour. And here in Dundregan, they've seen an increase in the number of areas where males choose to lek. But what exactly is a lek? Well, I filmed over in the Cairngorms National Park in early spring and I found some black grouse. Now, a lek essentially is an arena where the males will congregate together and choose to display, and they'll battle it out to win the affections of the females that are waiting in the outskirts. Now, they do so by posturing, by vocalising, they create bubbling and screeching kind of noises. But for the really strong females, really strong males, they will also fight it out. And they do so by pecking each other with their strong beaks, by whacking each other with their strong wings, and also clawing each other with their very sharp talons. So it's quite brutal. It can be very aggressive, and some of the males can end up being battered, bruised, and a little bit blooded as well. So it's I don't envy their task at all. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because lekking can happen all year round. The peak of the behaviour happens in the spring, but even now the males are fighting. Every single morning they get together and they battle it out, so all year round. And they must be knackered. Let's move on now to a lovely film by Maya Bambrick. She decided she wanted to raise some money for the British Trust for Ornithology, so she did 21 walks for her 21st birthday.
Hi everyone, my name is Maya Bambrick and I'm a 21-year-old birder, wildlife photographer and vlogger based down in Sussex. Today I'm really excited to be talking to you about a big project I undertook over the summer called 21 Wildlife Walks. Some people want to celebrate their 21st birthday with a skydive or a bungee jump, but I decided that really wasn't my style. Instead, I went on 21 different wildlife walks and vlogged them all around the UK, speaking to different inspiring people, speaking about conservation issues and highlighting biodiversity decline. And the ultimate goal was to raise £2,100 for the British Trust for Ornithology. 21 wildlife walks was a truly amazing experience. So I wanted to share with you some of my favourite walks over the summer. So I certainly couldn't leave Cornwall without doing some rock pooling. And even though I might not know what some of the species are, I could spend hours and hours looking amongst these pools of water in this ecosystem here, finding treasures and treasures. And here's some of the wildlife I've spotted so far. Beavers are large native rodents with brown fur, a broad tail and big orange teeth. They're herbivores and build dams and lodges to live in, making them fabulous ecosystem engineers and bringing many benefits, including to wildlife and hydrology. Last month I completed my last walk on my 21st birthday, and so far, thanks to your very generous donations, I've raised over £2,800 for the British Trust for Ornithology with gift aid. Half of that money will be going towards their bird research and the other half will be going towards their amazing youth engagement programme. So why did I pick the BTO to fundraise for? Well, let's take it back 10 years. Where my passion for wildlife began at the age of 8, none of my friends or family were interested, meaning that the hobby was sometimes a bit lonely. My eyes were open when I attended my first BTO bird camp in 2016, a residential weekend for under 18s at the HQ in Norfolk, involving lots of birding, citizen science and moth trapping. It opened my eyes up to the fact there were many other like-minded young people just as enthusiastic as me about wildlife. The BTO helped me find a community which I truly needed. Fast forward over 10 years and I'm now a youth representative, creating and running events for under 25s. Get involved by looking on the BTO Youth Hub. In my opinion, youth engagement is so vital. As we grow up into secondary school and sixth form, we don't get taught much about nature, and many young people don't even realise that conservation is a career. Organisations also truly benefit when they listen to and consult young people on decisions that are made. Ultimately, as the biodiversity and climate crisis looms over us, it's even more important that we educate and engage the next generation on the world and the natural world that they are inheriting. Although my 21 Wildlife project is now over, I still have a few videos to put out on my YouTube, and you can get involved through donating to my Just Giving page for the BTO. You can also check out all of my videos that I've done so far on YouTube, and if you've got a spare pair of binoculars or a field guide hanging around, you can donate it to the BTO Equipment Donation Scheme, where they give optics and other equipment to young people. So it's been a beautiful day filming here in Dorset, and I just wanted to say thank you very much for watching today's video, and thank you to Chris, Megan and the team for allowing me this opportunity to talk about 21 wildlife walks.
Maya is simply brilliant. As you heard, she got into birds when she was 8, got into the BTO when she was 13. I've helped her do a few things at Bournemouth University, as you've seen. She's a great birder, a great advocate for birding, great at working with other young people to bring them all together. She ran that thing, 21 years old, did all the 21 walks, set herself a target of 2,100. She bust that target. I can tell you that the crowdfunder is still open. The link is in the chat, so you could still donate. It's on 2,300 at the moment. But remember, the money's going to the BTO, and critically, thanks to Maya, 50% of it is going to their youth groups. Fantastic stuff. She's really good, and also her links are in the chat as well. So follow Maya. She's always posting interesting things.
That's really good. That's so good. And yeah, like you say, just follow Maya. She's absolutely super. So now, obviously, this show is called 8 out of 10 bats, but we haven't really featured much bat stuff.
No, a bit bat short, actually.
Yeah, we're a bit.
We're 8 bat shorts out of 10 at the moment.
Yeah, that's very true. Until now, though. So we're now going to talk about something called gnarlisation, otherwise known as veterinisation. Now, this is something that is done quite effectively on Dundragon and other locations as well. And this is basically a conservation method of giving younger trees older, basically tree, what's the word I'm looking for? Structures. Yeah. So it's basically inflicting certain. I'm losing my train of thought now.
Well, they sort of damage the tree.
Basically,
replicating natural processes of ageing and things, branches falling off.
That's it, absolutely. And of course, this veterinisation can be done in many different ways. And it's basically to mimic natural processes. So this could be things like wind damage, which we can see here. So this could be to mimic lightning strikes, like you can picture there. This is from Sherwood Forest, and also hazard beams as well. And now this is something that has been trialled and been very successful at Dundragon itself. And this is primarily to benefit bats. So they tried it on a larch tree, which we can see here. So basically they cut a small section of the tree out and they hollowed the back and then basically created a bat box inside the tree. And it's really cool veterinisation because it's something I've had a bit of experience with watching it in Sherwood.
You're only about 20 something. You're not veterinised yet, mate.
That's very true. That's very true. But if you think about the structure of a tree, it sort of has all these kind of gnarled features that are very good for wildlife. Or, like you say, all these cracked branches and all these holes for different wildlife to sort of wriggle into, and it's really good for bats. And like I said, it's been very, very effective at Dundragon for lots of bat species, and I have a list here. So on Dundragon, a species list of bats has been recorded, and that is the brown long-eared, the natterer's bat, which I'd never heard of, the soprano and common pipistrelle, and the Dorbenton's bat.
Quite a good little list, yeah. And of course it works if you're in a place where there aren't old trees. If you've just got young trees, like in a plantation, then veterinising them is the way to go. I know a few of my mates actually have been veterinised, you know, Indy. They started listening to bands like Coldplay. It just added years to their life, that dreary music. And now bats are roosting in the cracks in their faces. We couldn't actually forget about the Bat Conservation Trust, of course, as we're 8 out of 10 bats and talking about bats this evening. Bat Conservation Trust are a brilliant UK charity working with bats. Do check them out. The link is obviously in the chat. And they're doing a great event next week on Halloween. They've teamed up with another brilliant charity, I've got to say, Bug Life. And they're doing bats versus spiders online as a Halloween special, and it's running from 6 until 7:30 before 8 out of 10 bats next week. And the details for this are again in the chat, so do try and check that event out. That'll be great. Now, back in September, the State of Nature report was published, and as you might have imagined, quite a lot of it was bad news. Lots of habitats in decline, 16% of our monitored species in danger of extinction. And when it came to terrestrial habitats, only 14% of them were said to have good ecological status. Now, 14% is pretty bad, but what about our marine environments? What the report actually told us was that 0% of the UK seafloor is in good ecological status. 0%. And I can tell you that Christina is not very happy about that.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. It is a really sad state of affairs, and the issue that I want to talk about today is the continued dredging and overfishing and mismanagement of our seas around Scotland. As long ago as the 1800s, seaside and coastal communities started to notice that our demand for seafood was causing significant declines in many of the fish populations at that time. I wish I could go back and warn us that we needed to stop, we needed to reevaluate, and we needed to listen to what nature was telling us. But unfortunately, we didn't listen at that time, and we're in the position that we're in now. As time went on, we continued to fish, and we watched as species after species after species of fish declined and eventually collapsed in our oceans and our seas around Scotland. Haddock, cod and herring have been completely wiped out in many portions of the country. Now at this time, this was another opportunity to stop and to reevaluate and to listen to what nature was telling us. And again, we didn't. In fact, we actually ramped up our fishing activities and brought in new technologies. As the fish disappeared from the west coast of Scotland, we began dredging for the only species that were left, scallops and prawns. Now, these metal dredges can weigh over 2 tonnes and are dragged along the seafloor, scooping up the prawns and scallops as they go, but also completely ripping apart the seabed. Desolation is all that is left behind after a dredge comes through. Coral reefs, marl beds and kelp forests that have taken centuries to establish are wiped out in the blink of an eye. Now, in the truest possible form, we are absolutely shooting ourselves in the foot, because through destroying these important coastal habitats, we are actually taking away the crucial fish nurseries that would allow these populations of fish to recover and to come back. And we're also preventing small-scale, sustainable fisheries from being able to establish and being able to survive in the industry. Now, the Scottish Government loves quoting the figure that 30% of Scotland's seas are under marine protected areas, but they conveniently fail to mention that less than 5% of our coastal seas are protected from dredging. The disrespect that we show our marine species and our marine habitats is something that absolutely breaks my heart. Now, I had the privilege a few years ago of diving in Loch Carron, which is one of the most incredible sea lochs you'll ever see in Scotland, and is home to flame shells. Flame shells are these beautiful molluscs that are incredible animals in their own right, but also create these incredible habitats by which other species are able to establish. Now, in 2017, one single scallop dredger legally ploughed through Loch Carron, and this was the result. Absolute desolation. These flame shell beds that had taken centuries to establish and supported thousands upon thousands of species were wiped out completely. Now, that footage was taken by Andy Jackson, and a number of other divers were involved and looked at the desolation after this dredger had come through, and there was public outcry, and Loch Carron is now a safe space. It is now banned. Scallop dredging cannot take place there anymore. However, it continues all around the rest of our coastlines, not just in Scotland, but outside of Scotland as well. And these other sensitive habitats are ripped up as well. So what can we do? What can we do to protect these habitats? Our Seas Scotland is a coalition of environmental charities and small-scale sustainable fisheries and businesses and tourist activities and NGOs that are campaigning and striving for better protection of our coastlines and our habitats around. If you go to their website, you can sign their petition. They are calling for the re-establishment of the 3-mile limit. Now, this would ban all dredging within a 3-mile limit around our coastlines and allow these habitats the crucial time they need to recover. Now, they also have an incredibly powerful film called The Limit, which is available on YouTube to watch. I would highly recommend you watch that film. It's incredibly powerful, and it is a brilliant resource for finding out more information about how you can support small-scale sustainable fisheries. So I would highly recommend you support that work. And also, by signing the petition, Our Seas will also signpost you to important government consultations where you can make your voice heard about how you want our seas to be protected. The time is done for us taking advantage of our seas and giving back in return, and giving nothing back in return. We cannot let our greed for seafood completely destroy the very ecosystems that keep us alive. Please, please use your voice and demand better for our seas. Now, I'm going to interrupt this broadcast for a very important editorial announcement.
I'm afraid on behalf of all of the 8 out of 10 BATS team, I'm here to make a solemn apology. We have committed a catastrophic failure of process. We've been weighed, we've been measured, and we've been found wanting by our Editorial Standards Committee. Last night, we offered this extraordinarily valuable mug as a prize in our Susie Dent quiz. The winner was the person that identified that the animal that was most closely associated with the word mussel was in fact mouse, and we pronounced the winner as Deb Small. We made a terrible mistake. Friend of 8 out of 10 BATS, indeed the instigator of the Friends of the South Isolating Bird Club, Marion Veal, sent us this screen grab. If you look closely at the screen grab, you'll see that Marion indeed did post her answer correctly before Deb Small. Now, I have conducted a fully independent investigation into the veracity of this document. I'm just going to... have we got the results yet? The results are back. And? I'm afraid, Deb, you're a loser. And Marion is the winner of the mug. Sincere apologies, Marion. We made a terrible mistake there. But it does go to show, viewers, we are listening. Are you okay? I hope so. Oh, Deb, of course, we'll make you another mug. We're not that mean. And there are always the pin badges.
Well, that'll teach us, won't it?
I think it will. I think it will. Consider our hands slapped.
Yes, we know where we stand. Right, now of course we are back at the cache, and it's one of my favourite areas in the tent actually because it's full of natural wonder, and we really have missed out the elephant in the room, or I should say the humpback in the tent.
New phrase, new phrase. This is amazing, isn't it? I mean, absolutely incredible. It's a vertebrae from a humpback whale, I believe.
Yeah, a juvenile humpback that was found washed ashore, and you know, it's quite a remarkable piece of architecture. I mean, look at that. It's quite small, obviously. An adult would have much larger vertebrae, but pretty cool. Quite a rare thing to come across. You're much more likely, though, to come across these kind of treasures on the seafloor.
Oh, aren't these absolutely amazing? I just love going along a beach and looking at the strand line to see what treasures appear because, you know, with the tide coming in and out every day, you just never quite know what you're going to see. So let's have a little look at these. So we've got a lovely kind of whelk shell here. This is probably from something like a bucky whelk. I would love to try and hear the sea through it, but it's probably a little bit small. This is one of my favourites. So this is from a beautiful type of periwinkle called, no, it's not a periwinkle, sorry, a top shell. God, I'm getting my mollusks
Well,
mixed
it's a hard
up.
topic, mollusks. You know, no one will blame you for that.
A painted top shell, It's one of the biggest top shells that you'll see around the UK. You'll see lots of the smaller ones rock pooling, but this is beautiful. Normally really bright pink colour. This one's dulled slightly, but they are lovely. And then of course you've got blue mussels. You'll see them all along the coastlines. Really, really important for water filtration. And then of course we've got a good old common limpet. I love a limpet. You know, it's really cool if you ever see these on glass, if you actually get to see the underside. I mean, they're incredibly strong. Obviously, most of the time you only see the actual shell itself anchored to the rock, but if you ever see them on glass, they do have a really cute little face. I'm not going to lie. It's really sweet, and they're really effective kind of herbivores as well. They go around and they graze all this little algae and stuff. They're just great. You just never know what you're going to find.
See, they're scraping sometimes, can't you?
Yeah.
That's good.
This is really cool. So this is a carapace of a crab. I think it's most likely, it's either a shore crab or a harbour crab. I think most likely a shore crab because of the size. Now these are really cool. Now crustaceans, they go through this regular molting phase. They get rid of this tough exoskeleton. You know, as they grow, this shell doesn't actually grow with it. The soft body on the inside grows, but eventually it gets too big for this hard exoskeleton. So they need to remove themselves from it, and then the shell gets left behind, and that's why we find it. So it's quite nice in a way. If you find these, it's not always the sign of a dead crab. It could be just the sign of a natural molting process, which is quite nice,
pretty
isn't it?
nice. Lots of treasures to see along the seafloor, although I have to mention my favourites. Now, I do admit they're not UK focused, these ones, but they're pretty impressive, so I'm going to show you anyway. And again, I'm weaving in sharks. So sometimes you can find shark teeth. Now, shark obviously shed their teeth, or they come out when they're predating things, and they've got this conveyor belt of constant teeth coming forward because they are, you know, the ultimate apex predators. So this one here is the tooth of a great white shark. The feature of Jaws. But you can see actually its tooth is quite elongated there. This one here, on the other hand, is a tiger shark's tooth, and you'll notice that the shape is very different. The tiger shark's tooth has this point, and that's because it actually eats its prey in a very different way. So what the tiger shark does, it bites down on whatever prey it's going for, perhaps a seal, and it starts shaking its head like this, and it acts like a scissor to get the meat off. Now, if you thought this was impressive, I'd like to introduce you to my pride and joy of my personal natural treasure collection.
No way!
Megalodon. Great white shark was good. Megalodon is, of course, much better.
I'll just see myself out, shall I? That's amazing.
It's remarkable, isn't it? As an animal, it went extinct 3.6 million years ago. And despite being portrayed in films as like the size of a double-decker bus, they weren't actually as big as that. They were about 15 to 18 metres, about the same size as whale sharks.
15 to 18 metres.
Oh, still pretty big, don't get me wrong, especially if you've got like hundreds of these in your mouth. You're quite a big animal, but yeah, my shark teeth. Oh, they're so great.
You're going to have to look after them, otherwise I'm going to be walking away with them in my pocket.
Hang on a minute.
I'm not sure I'd take you in a fight, to be fair. But you know, shark head, the teeth can be tricky to find, but there's another thing you can look out for if you're going along our coastlines for evidence of sharks, can't you? We actually have quite a lot of species of sharks around the UK coastlines, as well as their cousins, you know, skates and rays. They all belong to the same group, the elasmobranchs, for that cartilaginous skeleton. Now, I'm sure lots of you will be familiar with these. We have, of course, mermaids' purses. Now just get a look at these. The diversity in them is just amazing. So we've got this small one here. I found I found this really commonly where I used to live, a small dogfish. We also have this one here that's likely from a thornback ray, and then we have this one here that's likely from a nurse hound. So those are all amazing, but I have the trump card of all mermaids' purses. This one here is from a flapper skate. Now, they're one of the largest species of rays and skates. The females can measure up to 3 meters in length. Now, they're really tricky to see. You don't see them very often. They tend to live quite deep down, but quite often you might see these washing up along, you know, the outer coast of Scotland, you know, the northern islands of Scotland. Definitely don't miss those if you see one.
They're huge as well, they really are. I know there's a good population actually in Northern Ireland of flapper skates as well.
Oh, fantastic, that's brilliant.
Right, lots of treasures that you can find along the shoreline, but sometimes things get a bit overwhelming. Taking a walk out by the sea can be really calming. It's got the blue effect. We're attracted to water, the sound of it, the monotonous waves. I personally quite like forests when things get a bit overwhelming, looking at environmental declines, environmental destructions. We all sometimes can feel a little bit of eco-anxiety. It's a really critical word, but one we shouldn't be afraid of, and we certainly shouldn't be afraid of talking about it.
I first got into nature at quite a young age. I was very privileged in the fact that I live in a little village with a lot of woods and fields and landscape around me, so every day as a kid I'd just be outside all the time. Even when I started high school, I was still there just playing around in the woods, crawling on the floor looking for insects, and I think that connection has really helped me get through some tough times. It's just such an escape and somewhere I can be free to be myself. When I started noticing this loss of biodiversity, it was almost as if I was grieving the loss of all the wonderful things around me. I can't honestly remember the last time I heard a cuckoo, and the dawn chorus, it doesn't really sound as strong anymore. It's more of a, instead of a chorus, it's more of just a single opera singer with some backing vocals in the background. And then I suddenly joined social media and online. Yes, it was bad in the fact I was always on my phone, but I discovered this term called eco-anxiety, and the dread just suddenly started making sense. So eco-anxiety is an emotional response to all these environmental challenges that we face at the moment. I think it's becoming increasingly prevalent amongst young people at the moment who are grappling with this daunting emergency of the climate crisis and biodiversity loss. It does terrify you, in all honesty. For a young person, it's really difficult to take on this massive challenge that we all face, and it's really easier said than done. They may listen to us, but do they actually take our words into action? I really don't think so. Like, I myself have been in that position where with other young people, we have so many views and perspectives and so much to add, but then we're just so overlooked. Like, I don't just want to be a tick box in like a organisation that just wants young people for tokenism. I think people, wildlife NGOs, organisations and governments need to start putting their reputation on the line. In reality, the climate crisis and biodiversity is going to affect every single one of us, and if we don't start doing something about it now, I'm not sure when we ever will. I think we can't keep tiptoeing around this issue, worrying what other people might think of us. I don't really know what the solution is. I don't know whether it's more protests or less protests, being more radical or less radical. I think at the moment, because I'm here, I feel so happy, but also I feel guilty that I'm enjoying this, and some people don't have this ability to come all the way up to the Cairngorms and enjoy the landscape for what it is. And also, I remember just a few days ago, I was sitting in my kitchen and I felt so utterly helpless. All these new things about oil and so much negative news. It was just, it took away all that power that I thought young people had. And I was just lost. I didn't know what to do, and I'm gonna make myself cry. Young people are so new to this world and we've never really had the space to give out our own opinions and perspectives about things. And I think now we do, and people are opening these discussions. It's really interesting to see and hear all these fresh perspectives. And we really do bring a different kind of view about things to the table. And I think it's really important that young generations do end up working with older generations, because we can just create this massive force. Collaboration is literally the key to everything. Everyone has so many unique talents and skills. It's so important to combine them, and with that we can really make a change.
I mean, that was an incredibly powerful film. Thank you so much to Katie Monk for taking the time to do that. That was absolutely incredible. And there were so many things that Katie mentioned in that film that I would love to delve into with you. But there's one really important thing I think we should mention, and that is the fact that organisations are more often than not using young people for tokenism as a tick box, just to be there and say, we've got something with young people. But do we have any power, any say over anything? In my experience, very, very little. What do you think about that?
Well, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's what this whole week's been about, empowering young people to show off their skills, their capabilities, their energies, and their desires to make a difference. That's what it comes down to. And you're absolutely right, there is a lot of tick boxing. What I get really annoyed about is when people say, we're listening to young people. Well, that's not enough. Empower those young people. Trust those young people to do things. They're not risk averse. They will do things and they will make a difference. And I think it's ever more important to make sure that your future is in your hands. We've messed it up. We're doing everything we can to try and put it right, but ultimately, I think you should be playing, not just you, Indy, but young people, should be playing a far more important role in that.
Yeah, well, I obviously completely agree with everything Chris just said, and please take notes, because this is what we should be seeing so much more of. And of course we are actually seeing so much more of it, because there's a great sort of thing that Trees for Life and Afric Highlands are involved with at the moment, and that is the brand new Scottish Rural and Islands Parliament. Now this is a really brilliant equal platform for young people between 16 and 30, and they can voice their opinions on rewilding yourself, rewilding the future, policy change and mental health surrounding eco-anxiety. So a very, very brilliant thing for so many young people to get involved with, and there is so much energy, passion and drive behind everybody involved with this project that want to create a better future and understand how to deal with eco-anxiety and how to help their mental health when worrying about this colossal issue.
If you're young, you've got to raise your voice. There are people out there who will listen, and if they don't, then shout even louder. Shout above that noise until someone hears you and acts upon what you want.
Absolutely, could not agree more. And of course, speaking of mental health, I recently had a chat with RSPB President and Dr. Amir Khan on the subject of eco-anxiety. Hello Amir, how are you doing?
Hi Indy, yeah, really well, thanks. Thanks for having me on. I've been begging for coming on for 8 out of 10 bats, so I'm glad someone finally took my call.
No, really nice to have you on the show. Now, so we've just watched a really brilliant film about eco-anxiety, and I've just wondered if this is something that you've suffered with yourself.
So I do worry about the climate and all the changes in the weather systems, and I can sometimes feel that becoming overwhelming. But rather than seeing it in myself, what I'm finding is younger people, particularly those kind of age between 16 and 34, coming to see me here at the surgery with mental health issues, which can be linked back to climate and the worry about climate. So I've got a combination of having a little bit of it myself, but also seeing a real uptick in the number of patients that I'm seeing here at the surgery who cite climate change as one of the reasons they're feeling anxious.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and interesting that you've seen that in the surgery yourself. So how do you think, as young people, we can deal with the stress and the fear that we face from maybe like a mental health perspective?
Yeah, so I think the first thing to do is understand the symptoms, so you can label it as climate anxiety. And it is that worry, that overwhelming concern because of the changes in weather and climate and temperature around the globe. And those symptoms can be mental. It could be kind of anxiety, the worry, the rumination, but also you can get physical symptoms of climate or eco-anxiety as well. So you can get palpitations, shortness of breath, headaches, difficulty sleeping. Once you've kind of got those symptoms, you can say, right, okay, what I'm suffering from here is eco or climate anxiety. And then it's about what you can do to combat those symptoms. Now, the first thing I'd say is set boundaries. You know, it's good to be informed and it's good to know what's going on, but you've got to have a limit to how much information you're taking in on that day, and be able to say, right, I've had enough of this now, I'm going to go and do something else. And there's something called maladaptive scrolling, which our brain does when we're feeling anxious about something. Because it's a worry of what might happen in the future and isn't necessarily happening right now, then your brain seeks to confirm that, and you look for things online to confirm why you're so anxious. It's just part of the way the brain works, and you end up going down this kind of maladaptive scrolling. It's different to doom scrolling, where you're just looking and looking and looking, and you're taking in more and more negative information, and that feeds the anxiety. Just set a limit, and it's okay to go and do something else, you know, when that limit has been reached. And then the other thing is, if you are feeling overwhelmed and it's really stopping you from doing the things that you normally enjoy doing, speak to a healthcare professional like myself, and we can direct you, you know, in the way of perhaps talking therapy or online resources, or, you know, if it's really needed, we will consider medication. But usually we can avoid medication and talk about other ways to support you.
Absolutely, too right. Thank you so much for that, Amir. Really, really nice to talk to you.
Cheers, man. See you later. Thank you.
Some really important points there from Dr. Amir Khan. You know, he's a great friend, and looking at his social media, he's got some really great things to say about our mental health and physical health and all the things that we can do to make sure that we're as fighting healthy as we can possibly be in both senses. And I think it's really crucial, actually, that we remember what we're fighting for, that we celebrate what we love in the natural world, whether that be the robin in your back garden, a red kite overhead, whether that be, you know, a daisy. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, take the small things, really enjoy them, and remind yourself of kind of why we're doing what we're doing, because it is a big problem. When we look at the climate crisis and biodiversity loss, there is a lot to take in. But when we all start taking individual action collectively, that problem starts to shrink and get ever smaller, and that's what really counts.
Absolutely. And a really great example of one of these actions you can take is by getting involved in citizen science. And a great example is from the great I need to say this right. The Great Global Nurdle Hunt. Try saying that 10 times fast. They are run by a fantastic charity called FIDRE, and it's all about collecting nurdles, with these small plastic pellets, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, and they can be found in oceans, in riverways, and all that kind of thing. So the link is in the chat if you want to take part in this really important citizen science. There's some nurdles there for you. All you have to do is go out, count how many you find, and input that data, and it really helps us to understand about plastic pollution in these sensitive environments.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I want to share with you guys one of my favourite environments where I hold on to and where I remind myself why we are here and why we do what we do for biodiversity. And that environment is sea lochs. Now, it's an interesting place because it's not really a type of environment you get anywhere else in the UK. They're quite unique to the west coast of Scotland. We've got a lovely photo of one there.
Beautiful.
If you look at the west coast of Scotland, it's really intricate, okay? It's not smooth, you know, like a lot of other bits of our coastlines. It's jagged, got lots of surface area. So these sea lochs run from the sea all the way into the land. And even though when you look at that photo, you might think it's fresh water, actually, it's the most incredible marine environment. All these sea lochs are really different, but what makes them special is that because they're so inland, they're really sheltered. They don't bear the brunt of these westerly storms and winds that we get in the UK. They remain really sheltered and really stable, and that gives many species the opportunity to thrive.
Some really great biodiversity when you dip your head below the slightly chilly but fascinating world of the sea lochs. And one of those creatures is a peacock worm. Have a look at this by Anne Peck. I mean, what a worm is that? I mean, you can see why it's called peacock, can't you? It's basically a filter feeder. This is why it's got all these branches going out into that dark water there. It's picking up particles, and then it will remove those particles closer to its feeding organs. But look how cool that is. I mean, if that's not making you want to go right into a sea loch, I don't know what will.
Absolutely. And one of my favourite species is the fireworks anemone. Take a look at this. I mean, you can see where it gets its name from. Now, these live in what you would think is being the most kind of boring habitat. It's called burrowed mud. So it's essentially in these really stable sea lochs where fine sediment gathers into this muddy source of substrate. And it's so stable that it stays there for years and years. And that allows things like these fireworks anemones. They anchor themselves into the mud and then they display in these beautiful tentacles. But you mean they look beautiful in the normal light, but take a look at this.
Oh my goodness.
You can really see where it gets its name. So this image is from James Linnett. Thank you so much for sending this in, James. Now, what this image demonstrates is biofluorescence. Now, this is different to bioluminescence that you might see where marine organisms will produce a blue light. Now, that blue light comes from a chemical reaction that takes place inside the cells. Biofluorescence is a bit different. What happens there is the animal absorbs low wavelengths of light and emits high wavelengths of light, which makes it glow against a dark background. Now, we've had a few other images in from James. Take a look at this. I mean, have you ever seen a crab like that before?
No, I mean, never in that kind of light. Looking into those details, I mean, I like the pink spots on its claws.
It's amazing. So James specialises in this fluorescent photography, and he's got an incredible setup that involves shining blue light on these animals. I mean, take a look at this thornback ray. I mean, thornback rays are amazing to see, but, you know, they tend to blend into their surroundings, but when seen under this blue light, I mean, the detail in the eye, the detail in the back, I mean, have you ever seen UK marine life like that before? Absolutely outstanding. Thank you so much to James, Anne and Ross for sending in those images to us. I hope I've sold sea lochs to you now. I really do.
Oh, I think you have done. I mean, that just makes you think of them in a whole new light. Often we think about our marine environment around the UK as quite cold and dark and kind of murky. Actually, it can be entirely the opposite. And especially when we look at photos like that. You know, photos are a really keen way of communicating different issues and images and stories. And I always say the beautiful thing about photography is that it transcends language. No matter what language you speak or no matter where you are, you can see a photo and that can elicit a reaction, an emotion, almost like an empowerment to do something for the environment. And coming up next, we've got an amazing photographer, Andy Rouse. He's a great friend of Chris and mine. I've known him for years and years. He goes around the world taking photos of some magnificent species, highlighting, of course, their conservation and the need to protect them. So take it away, Andy.
Hello Megan, hello Chris, how you doing? I've got my special toucan t-shirt on because you too can do it. Too can do it. I know, I'm so funny. What a natural comedian I am. But do you know what? Inside sometimes I find this modern world a bit of a struggle, and I use nature and photography to help reset me when I'm feeling down. And I want to show you today some images that I've taken recently that have done just that. So keep watching. One of the things I always love about Mother Nature is that it gives me surprises. And a couple of months ago, there I was in Samburu looking out into the gloom when I saw this animal that looked like a hyena. I thought, oh, it can't be a hyena. Oh, it must be an aardwolf. This amazingly elusive animal, very, very nocturnal, I have to see, was there right in front of me. Now, we picked it up every morning after that, okay, and we began to learn its habits. It was hunting all the time. They're foragers, they're hunting on the plains. It didn't like it when the Land Rover went right up to it. So what we did, we learned to go ahead of it and let it come onto our path, which it did. It got really used to us. I got some lovely portraits, some lovely habitat shots, but then one morning it all came together and boom, look at this. Beautifully backlit. Look at those lovely ears all backlit. It's absolutely amazing. I never thought in my life that I would shoot an aardwolf, and it made me feel so good. In fact, in Cockney, I was made up, wasn't I? Now, when I'm in the UK, I have some obsessions. Depeche Mode, Aha, West Ham United, and Roe Deer. I love Roe Deer because it's the ultimate one-on-one challenge. It pits my fieldcraft against their senses. They generally win. If they find out that I'm there, they go, arr, 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 and jump off to the horizon. But if I can get it right, I can get up close and I can get some great pictures. And a little while ago, a couple of months ago, I found this amazing buck when I was out stalking in the morning. He was so arrogant, he didn't stomp off like they do and run off into the horizon. He just strutted away looking all the time. I thought, you know what? I'm going to get some pictures of you, my old son being Cockney, by the way. So I worked out what it was doing over a couple of days with my thermal imager and my binoculars. Okay, good observation, good fieldcraft is vital. I had a ghillie suit on so he couldn't tell what I was. Okay, I always shoot from the shadows. Got into a good place. First thing in the morning, found him feeding in a patch of herbs and grasses and good natural stuff. Got some nice pictures, but he knew something was there. They just know. He just went into the hedgerow, and I knew from watching him that he would go across a crop field into the woods. So I got in position right opposite a tram line, because just because they cross a tram line, they generally tend to look around like that. Okay, so I knew that from experience. I waited. Initially, I saw the antlers going across. It was very frustrating. But then as soon as he got to the tram line, he looked at me. I lifted the lens up. It was probably enough to make him look a bit more. Boom. Absolutely great. One of the nicest rodeo pictures I've ever done. And it shows that fieldcraft trumps camera gear every time. Now, I said earlier on that photography has the ability to lift your mood. I've been very sad lately because one of my best friends, Dickie Singh, died in India very suddenly. I found myself in Finland straight after, and I decided that I was going to really jump into my photography to help lift my mood and take something special. So I find myself in a hide. You can see here I'm looking down into the screen. I don't look into the viewfinder because you break your back doing that. So I'm looking into the screen, taking some nice images, and I thought, no, it's not. I want something special here. The bear decided to help me out. So he came around the edge of this pool in the middle of the forest and started to get in the water, which was nice. I had some splashing around and some good looks. And then he suddenly started to come out of the water and fixed me with this incredible look with water streaming down. It was awesome. Oh, I couldn't believe it. Now, the light was very low, so I increased the ISO to increase the shutter speed. Increasing the ISO to increase the shutter speed, there we go, it's my little dance there. I did that because I don't care about the noise. All I care about is getting the image, and wow, did I get a really cool image. One of my favourite bear images ever. It made me feel a lot better. It made me feel very enthused, and I knew that Dickie would be really proud of me for taking it. Well, what have you learnt today, apart from me being random and a bit excitable? Well, you've learnt that fieldcraft trumps cameras, hopefully, that fieldcraft counts for everything, because everything I've done today comes from having really good fieldcraft. You've also learnt that getting out into nature with your camera is really, really important. Get out and take pictures for yourself. Don't worry about what anyone else says. Don't worry about impressing anyone else. You're going out to take pictures for yourself. So get out there and let the healing power of nature sort you out. All right, that's it from me. Hope that you enjoyed it. See you again soon.
Oh, I mean, the aardwolf for me kind of gets it.
What an animal. Just seeing an aardwolf.
Oh, I'm so jealous of Andy. Those are so good photos.
And then it's backlit. And then its ears are up. Sensational. And the bears were amazing.
Bears were great.
I like dribbling bear.
Really love the bears.
Full on, the head on. You can see how big their heads are. Great photos.
Yeah, they're nice as well. I mean, they're all good, aren't they? Yeah,
they are good. He's a great photographer. He has a Patreon that you can join, and the details are in the chat now. There are sort of several tiers that you can join. They're all worth signing up to, a few pounds a month. You can upload your photos, do critiques, and he does some online sort of Lightroom work, showing you how to process those better. Here's a few more of his pictures, which you get access to if you sign up to those Patreon things. I mean, this one I take umbrage with him. I mean, he's photographed a leopard there with a bit of a dodgy ear. And he had a beautiful bear. He had the best looking aardvark in the world, but here he's got a leopard that's been gnawed.
I mean, I guess it's not Andy's fault though, is it? But I mean, you know, if you could choose between leopards, you wouldn't go for the one with the kind of the scraggly.
And he's one of those honest photographers. He's not going to fix that in Photoshop either, is he? He goes with nature as it is. Great photographer. Follow him on all of the links that you've got in the chat below. Now, we set up our own little challenge, Nature Spy Camera Trap Challenge, using one of these cameras, kindly supplied to us by Nature Spy. Details for them, of course, are in the chat. We all had to set one out and see who got the best clip of wildlife here at Dundragon. Right, who's going first?
Can I say that none of us know what the other have got yet, so we're seeing this for the first time.
And you can vote on who got the best clip, so there's going to be a poll. Who's going first?
Can we just get mine out of the way?
Oh, go on, then. Okay, Christina,
Hey,
let's have a look at yours.
I tried really hard.
Right,
I
setting it up.
found a path, there was deer poo, I thought it was going to be great. I walked up to get it, and that was all that happened. It was only me.
That was it.
I was the only thing on that camera.
You've set the bar low. You've set the bar very low.
I'm so disappointed.
All right, go on.
Right, I think it's me next, but of course I'm going to leave a bit of sort of whose camera trap is this? So let's have a look. Look at that, we've got a red deer though.
Red deer, okay.
Got a red
Wow.
deer. Look at that, two jumping through just there.
That's pretty good.
That's not too bad.
Isn't that all right? But whose camera trap was it?
Oh.
Is that your best Harry Styles impression?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Was it your camera trap?
It was my camera trap.
Okay, so you're leading, I think, probably with the red
So
deer. Who's
far.
going next?
Okay, right, well, I'll go next
Right,
because
go on.
I've got a global announcement for the UK. I've got something on my camera trap, right, that has not been seen in Britain for the best part of 400 years.
Here we go.
Oh, don't be so ridiculous. What are you talking about?
Oh, we bears have done No, I'm just kidding. Well, you know, we're looking forward into the future, perhaps a long, long way away. I might be dead by the time bears are back in the UK.
Well, I hope not, but I hope not. What did you get on your camera trap? Was that, you'd got nothing?
First of all, I do have to thank Harry Reid for sending me that photograph to use. It's actually a bear in Finland.
Bear in Finland.
But you know, it's hope for the future. It's what it could look like in the next couple hundred years.
Yeah.
But we'll start with links first.
At least I tried.
Yeah,
I did try. I just came up
Okay.
with a creative idea to kind of
Cheat. Right, brace yourselves. Right, come on.
no.
Roll Chris's camera trap footage.
What is that? Get lost. No. You cannot have a woodcock.
Woodcock?
No.
Nocturnal bird. On the camera trap.
Rubbish.
Came in, had a little look round like they do, a bit of a geezer, that woodcock, right? And then shot off to do some woodcocking.
I can't believe the actual cheek of it, quite frankly. The cheek of that.
Right.
I've got a lot more hopes for myself now.
Come on.
No.
Well, Indy was the only one who got a
say,
real
actually, am I the only
animal,
one
I
with
know.
no?
Okay, but who won it?
Okay, let's
What's
see,
the result
who
of the
won
poll?
it?
What's the result of the poll? Who won it?
Indy!
Yay!
43%.
Fair enough.
All
Thank
right.
you. A very
Fair
integral
enough.
audience.
All
Well done.
right.
Thank you very
Integrity.
much.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've had a number of interruptions on this programme, unfortunately, tonight. Well, I say unfortunately. One of them was unfortunate with our technical difficulties. Thank you for staying with us. We are going to run through all of our content, so we are now running over time. We know that, but we just wanted to give you what we've got prepared. The other, of course, was an interruption because messed up with one of the quizzes and got that a little bit wrong. But we're now interrupting you for a party political broadcast, which is going to be given by the Shadow Environment Secretary, Mr. Colin Platitude.
Hi, I'm Colin Platitude. My father worked on oil tankers and my mother was a gamekeeper. I used to love listening to my old mum tell us about all the foxes and buzzards she'd killed on the way home from school and looking at the oil underneath my dad's fingernails over a hearty tea of egg and chips. It made me who I am today. For some reason, there's been a 69% drop in wildlife population since then, but it was that upbringing, grounded in an honest day's work, that motivated me to get into politics. Nah, I know times are tough. Rents are extortionate and house building is at a standstill. Just the other day, a man approached me in the street and said, "Keith," and I said, "Colin," and he said, "My name's not Colin," and I said, "No, mine is," and he said, "Whatever, listen, I can't build an extension because I've got bats in my loft. If you win the next election, can I concrete over the bastards?" And because I'm willing to say or do whatever needs to be done in order to get into power, I replied, "Yes, it's time for location, location, location without the echolocation." And it's these little interactions with everyday people which motivate me. Yesterday, I met a man who said, "Humanity will eventually pay the ultimate price for the decimation of the only known assemblage of life in the universe." And I said, "That's nice, Dad. Please can you stop shouting through me letterbox?" He never was the same after he grounded that tanker.
Will Colin Platitude get any votes, I wonder? Probably, knowing this country. Right, we're running out of time. We're running out of this of time. Have we got anything anyone sent in? What have we got?
Yeah.
We do have a few bits,
Go on,
yeah.
what have we got?
We've got some really good stuff, haven't we? We're going in? Right, well, I'll start. I've got this brilliant video sent of us of an adder. This was seen only a couple of weeks ago from Sarah Kent, who actually works here at Dundragon. I think she was quite surprised to come across this adder in mid-October because, of course, at this time of year, they're kind of curled up somewhere warm and dark and well, not out and about because the temperature has dropped.
But listen, they're the only snake that occurs north of the Arctic Circle, which is why they give birth to live young. So they are used to lower temperatures, and you do see them out and about later in the year. But it was frosty the other day, so I hope the adder was firmly gone to bed by now.
That's a good fact, that. I did not know.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Well, we had a second one as well, didn't we? The big diving beetle. That was also from another Drundragon staff member, James Rainey. Look at this. I mean, they are the proper predators of the freshwater world, aren't they? The hyenas, the tigers, the lions, the bears.
Dytiscus, their larvae are something to fight with as well, to be honest with you. They go to about the length of my little finger. They've got really formidable chelicerae fangs. And if you're in the pond, they'll give you a good nibble. Often where you don't want to be nibbled, actually. I've been nibbled where I didn't want to be nibbled by Dytiscus larvae in a pond. And you really wanted to know that, didn't you? You really wanted to know that, didn't you?
I'm not sure anyone wanted to know that, Chris, to be perfectly honest with you. So moving swiftly on, shall we? To the answer of Susie Dent's word of the day. What was it from Suze?
So the answer to today's question, what is a smooze and would you know one if you were looking at it, is that a smooze, spelt S-M-E-U-S-E, is a tiny opening at the bottom of a hedge or a natural fence made by a small animal such as a rabbit or hare to allow it to pass through. It is a blend of mews, meaning a hiding place, and a smoot, which is a tiny hole or passageway. That is a smooze.
Ah, smooze. Did you get that? Schmooze?
Yeah, I'm going to be smoozing later.
Schmooze.
I'm going to get down on my belly and I'm going to smooze through a smooze.
Schmooze.
I'm going to smooze. And
What
then
a
after I've smoozed through a smooze, I might have a snooze.
Oh, yeah.
Oh la la, okay.
Deary me.
All right, now earlier on, of course, James launched the competition, or the fastest person who could get the answer for this 8 out of 10 bats mug, of which there are only 8 in the world. Well, maybe 9 now.
There's going to be 9 in the world.
9 in the world,
Yeah,
so
9 in the
slightly less rare than they were, but still pretty rare. And I'm pleased to say the answer, of course, was Barnow, and that was won by Meg J. You were apparently the fastest that we saw, so Meg J, please do email us your address and we will get that in the post.
And we don't want to see any more screenshots from anyone who think they were any faster than Meg J. Okay.
Meg J is it.
That's it.
That's
it's
it.
finished. The decision's final. Independent assessment. Been verified. Meg J. That's it. Marion? No.
Now, sadly, we are coming to the end of our time in Dundragon Rewilding Centre, and we've had an absolutely incredible time here. The staff have been amazing. The place has been amazing. They have demonstrated the most incredible aptitude for rewilding across this landscape. They are engaging with the local community. They've obviously got the tree nursery. You can see trees marching up the hills as they should be, and they have looked after us just so well. We couldn't recommend that you come here enough. It is a fantastic location, fantastic wildlife and fantastic people, so make sure to pop up and pop through if you're in the area.
Too right, and speaking of those fantastic people, I've got a little list of names for some quick shout outs, some people who've been absolutely instrumental into making all of this happen from the Dundragon team. So we've got Stephen and his dog Baz, lovely to meet Baz every day, and Steve the CEO, Alex the superb, I think we can all agree, cooks, absolutely amazing. We've also got Rachel, Kate, Sean, Madeline and Molly, and the entire team, of which we got a massive group photo earlier, so keep an eye out for that on social media. Absolutely. I've personally absolutely loved this, and everybody here has been superb, so thank you.
It's been really great, and you can come and stay, of course, where we're currently staying now. They've got great accommodation if you're up on your holidays to northern Scotland. Great food, as we mentioned earlier. I mean, we've been royally
Very
spoiled.
comfortable beds.
Very.
Mine's covered in chocolate stains at the moment. I've got to say, I'll tell you, I was eating chocolate.
How
when
old
I
are
took
you?
it. Got to eat chocolate in bed.
You don't want
As long as it's chocolate.
Leaves these sort of brown stains, people think things.
Okay, he's a terrible housekeeper. No one invite him over anytime. But anyway, Dundragon have been absolutely brilliant. We can't rave about it enough. But of course, there's 2 other thank yous that I have to mention. Christina and Indy, you've been joining us this week. You brought your expertise, your knowledge and your enthusiasm. Thank you so much for coming to Dundragon with us and talking about all the amazing wildlife that's been here. It's been a pleasure to have you both with us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, next week we will be joined by 2 other presenters presenters. We've got Green-Fingered George and Kezia, known as City Girl in Nature. We're really excited to have them on board to talk a little bit more about urban nature down in Surrey at the British Wildlife Centre. So we've got to quickly pack up, head down south and get prepared for next week, and we'll be live again on Monday at 7:30, and that's for 4 episodes, so we're not over just yet.
Not over just yet, and one last shout out of thanks. Our live director, Fabian Howson. He's only 20-something. I'm surprised he's still got hair. but the very fact that we've been on air this week and got all of this done is down to Fabian. He is a tech wizard and genius. He's got more energy than all those fossil fuel companies put together. And we're not forcing him through a rapid transition to renewables over the weekend because he's got to keep it up for next week. Fabian is absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Fabes, for that. Now, we were ending our programmes with a joke. Some of the jokes were questionably unfunny.
Saying
excellent.
Sorry, I've decided not to give you a joke tonight. We've got something. No. We've got something very special. Very special. Our sound man, Peter Elliott, is a bit of a polymath. He's written an extraordinary book, and I'm not joking here. It's absolutely gripping. It's called The Green Tracksuit. Everyone who's, I know it sounds a bit odd, Green Tracksuit. Everyone who's read it just simply couldn't put it down. It's available from all good bookshops, including the one that we're using to promote all of our books, which is Waterstone. So you can get the book there. But he's also a singer-songwriter. He was playing in a band called Two Goats in a Canoe. The canoe has disappeared upstream without a paddle and the goats have jumped out. So he's now performing by himself, and he's going to lead us out tonight with one of his songs. Let's hear it for Pete. Come on.
Hello, Jane. And now I just wanted to quickly, before we start, give you a little insight into what I heard Chris singing the other day.
What was that? Not the Eagles.
Not the Eagles, Chris.
The Eagles give me a rash.
Chris loves them.
It's not the Electric Light Orchestra
No,
who
it's not
also
the
give me a
Electric
rash.
Light Orchestra.
It's not Coldplay who bring me out in hives.
No, it's not Coldplay who bring you out in hives. Give me the first line.
First I was afraid.
First I was afraid. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side.
All right, okay, joke's over, that's enough of that. Peter Elliott with his own song, Shine.
Close the door, turn around, come over here like you've done before. Close your eyes, come to me, 'cause it's the way God intended it to be. Only get one shot to get it right. Only get one star in your sky. You're gonna shine away. Shine, shine today. One shot to get it right. Only get one star in your sky. You're gonna shine away. Shine, shine today. No star, oh, but we have light running through our veins when we're side by side. When we're apart, I feel your pain running down my bed like we're in the rain. Only get one shot to get it right. Only get one star in your sky. You're gonna shine away. Shine, shine today.